Okay, so this is our presentation, Diversity and Adaptations of Desert Plants, by Taylor Poole.
Rachel Sherman.
Robert Frazier.
Elia Marco Cabral.
And Daniel Wyckoff.
And this is for Bio 182 for Professor Blesdo. And we're group A9. So,
All right, so for the table of contents, we have the introduction, which is a harsh world of desert plants. For diversity of desert plants, it will be Rachel Sherman taking that one. Structural adaptations will be Taylor Poole. Next will be physiological adaptations, and I will not butcher that name, but we can see it. Um, Next, we have Ecological and Human Significance by Robert Frazier, and then the introduction and conclusion reflection by myself. Um, First, I would like to say that I will be Daniel Wyckoff and I'll be presenting the introduction. Our topic is the diversity and adaptations of desert plants. I want to clarify what environment is classified as a desert and then give a little background information on the importance of desert plants and their adaptations for survival. I decided to go to the National Geographic website and get some information from there, which they kind of clarified that deserts are considered extremely dry environments that are home to adapted plants and animals, and some of those plants, including like cacti, wildflower, agave, wheat, and then a few more, which we actually do have cacti in Arizona. There are also many different types of deserts to include hot and dry deserts, semi-arid deserts, coastal deserts, and cold deserts. Examples of each type of desert is the Sahara Desert located in Africa, and then the Mojave Desert located in California and a part of Nevada as well. That will be the hot and dry desert. A semi-arid desert is the Kalahari Desert located in Africa as well, but it's not technically considered a true desert since it does have a higher amount of rainfall, and the rainfall amount that is classified as a desert is about 20 inches of rain per year. Another example is the Kazaka Desert located in Asia. A coastal desert, the humidity is a bit higher in coastal deserts, and they do have a bit more fog blown in from the coast, but they still receive less than 20 inches of rainfall a year, which does give it a classification of a desert. An example of this type of desert would be the Atacama Desert of Chile, and I couldn't really find too many more. A cold desert, they are still dry, but they are still considered to be like extremely cold environments. The Antarctic is the best example of a cold desert. Environments are also classified as a desert due to the extremely dry climate and lack of rainfall, which rarely exceeds 20 inches of rain a year. Due to the lack of rainfall, desert plants have adapted to conserve water, like cacti, who have developed elongated stems for storage and produced spines or needles for protection from thirsty desert animals. Next will be Rachel going over the diversity of desert plants.
Desert ecosystems are home to an incredible variety of plant life, each uniquely adapted to survive in harsh, dry conditions. One of the most visually striking groups is the succulents. These plants, like the jumping cholla and the creeping devil, store water in their fleshy tissues and often have dramatic forms and vivid names. Their shallow root systems allow them to absorb water quickly during rare desert rains. And many use a special type of photosynthesis called CAM, which helps them conserve water by opening their stomates at night instead of during the day. Another fascinating group is the drought deciduous plants. These species shed their leaves during dry seasons to reduce water loss and enter a dormant phase until conditions improve. When rain returns, they quickly regrow their leaves and resume growth. Examples include the elephant tree and the bujum tree. which store water in the thick stems to survive leafless periods. Finally, we have the ephemeral and annual plants. These are short-lived species that take advantage of brief wet periods to grow flowers and produce seeds rapidly. Their seeds can remain dormant for a long periods, waiting for the right conditions to germinate. Many desert wildflowers and even crops such as wheat and corn fall into this category, showing how even the most fleeting moisture can support vibrant life in the desert. Together, these plants types showcase the remarkable diversity and resilience of desert flora. The world's deserts are far more barren than a barren landscape. They're vibrant ecosystems teeming with life. Take the Sonoran Desert, for example. It's the most biologically diverse desert in North America, home to over 2,000 native plant species like saguaros and palo verdes. These plants have evolved to thrive in extreme heat and dry conditions, especially in zones like desert washes and arroyos. But this biodiversity is under a threat from urban development, mining, and water scarcity. Thankfully, organizations like Center for Biological Diversity are working to protect these habitats through legal advocacy and restoration efforts. Moving to the Mojave Desert, we find a rich variety of flowering annuals and shrubs, such as brittlebush and desert globe mallow. These plants bloom in response to seasonal changes and are often small and hard to spot. Tools like iNaturalist help people track and appreciate this hidden beauty. Yet, climate change is putting pressure on this ecosystem, with iconic species like Western Joshua trees facing habitational loss. Even the Saharan Desert, one of the harshest environments on Earth, supports resilient plant life in oases and dry riverbeds. Species like, I have a hard time pronouncing, acacia and date palms have adapted with deep roots and rapid growth after rare rain. Conservation efforts like the Great Green Wall are helping to restore and protect this fragile desert flora.
Okay, so now we're going to be covering structural adaptations. So, many structural adaptations enable plants to survive in the harsh environment of the desert. Um, One of them is having small or no leaves at all. This helps to reduce surface area, which reduces water loss through transpiration. It's very important in hot, arid environments because water is so scarce, so they need to conserve it. Um, Second, spines are common in plants as a result of this, such as the cactus. It helps to reduce the surface area and prevent water loss. Um, since the leaves are absent, most of the photosynthesis takes place in the stem. As well as this, the stems also help to store water. The plant also has a thick cuticle to help prevent water loss. This helps preserve the nature of the plant and keep it healthy. The roots of desert plants also are also shallow and widespread, and this helps to maximize absorbance after rainfall. Um, this means that the roots are close to the surface. When the rainfall is like sh very short but very quick, they can absorb that. Um, it's essential to take advantage of during the short rainfall. Finally, many plants utilize chem photosynthesis, which is going to be covered a little bit more further on, allowing them to open their stomata at night, stored overnight, and close the stomata during the day to prevent water loss. Okay. And then this is just an example of some of the structural adaptations and how they can be unique to certain plants. So cacti, such as the saguaro, which is here in Arizona, are specialized through structural adaptations, which makes them well suited to life in the desert. As discussed above, the adaptations they have enabled them to survive in such a hot, arid environment. The modified stems, the modified leaves, their spines, allow them to preserve water by reducing surface area. In addition, they have a shallow root system and modified stems with a waxy cuticle, which you can feel if you like touch a cactus, which allows them to collect and conserve water. Um, as well as this, they also utilized CAM's photosynthesis. So this is a real world application of these adaptations. Similarly to the cacti, juniper, also a species native to Arizona, carries many of the same traits. The main difference is that they have leaves that are almost like tiny scales on their plant, which is a unique trait. As well as this, one unique trait of this is like an adaptation that's taken place is that during a drought, they can actually cut water off to a major branch, resulting in a dead branch. While this might seem negative, it actually allows them to survive. And these are just a few examples of some of the many but few adaptations that desert plants can take place in order to survive.
Okay, I'm going to be going over the physiological adaptations, which is basically how desert plants survive from the inside out. Desert plants have an incredible internal system that help them endure extreme dryness and heat. A key process to this is called the crassulation acid metabolism or CAM photosynthesis. This is just where the plants will open their stomata at night to take in carbon dioxide and store it for photosynthesis during the day. This physiological adaptation helps to overall minimize water loss through evaporation. These plants will also tightly regulate transpiration and water storage by maintaining internal hydration even when soil moisture is severely limited. Many desert species have seed dormancy. Basically, in other words, these plants will stay inactive until rare rainfall triggers germination, which is a crucial survival strategy. And lastly, some species will show salt tolerance, which is they will either store or excrete salt to withstand saline soil conditions. These physiological traits are extremely important not only for desert ecosystems, but also for human innovation. Having the abilities to survive in this extreme condition, desert plants provide habitat and food for animals, helping to maintain ecosystem balance. Scientists are also studying can plants to understand how their water efficient metabolism could possibly improve agricultural resilience, especially for crops in drought-prone regions. Ultimately, the way desert plants manage heat, water, and salt teaches us about biological resilience, offering clues for adapting to climate change and sustaining life in harsh environments.
I'll be going over the ecological and human significance. So the desert ecosystem holds a climate that is hot and dry, and this creates an environment for species to adapt to. And in this, it can also create unique ways for different species to interact with each other. For plants, there's a lack of nitrogen in the soil. That's essential for DNA and nucleic acid formation. So to combat this, plants can create mutualistic and symbiotic relationships with different species. An example observed in nature is a three-way mutualistic relationship between the desert weevil, the plant Sola nermis, and the bacteria Klebsiella. They work together so that ultimately all will benefit. The plant gives the weevil a place to live, simple sugars from the root zone. In turn, the plant gives nitrogen or gets nitrogen from the weevil's gut alongside bacteria. The bacteria also benefits from a safe place to live and get some nutrients. This is one of many examples of how species within a desert ecosystem can create relationships alongside each other to adapt to the harsh reality of little water in a dry climate. Desert plants can also be useful to humans as they have been used for medicinal, nutritional, and practical use. An example of this is the medicinal use of aloe vera. Aloe vera has key characteristics shown in desert plant adaptations. It is 98% water, as plants need to conserve water as they live in the desert because there's very little water. The other contents of the plant, such as fats, polysaccharides, and a later latex outer layer that also helps conserve water. What gives the medicinal effect of aloe vera is the sugars and the antioxidants within it, as it can be used for pain relief, toning down inflammation, and controlling bacteria, harmful bacteria, and harmful fungi. Without this plant, humans would miss an abundant medicine in the pharmaceutical industry. This just goes to show how desert plant adaptations can be useful. Um, and then desert plant diversity is at risk when humans interfere with their ecosystem. When humans build on top of the desert dirt, they naturally add moisture, nutrients, and they change the soil pH. These changes make the environment less extreme. And this is not good for desert plants because they are built for the extreme. Um, and just it was observed in 3 short years of building a civilization that there were fewer total species of plants, and key desert plants were replaced by human tolerant plants. This decreases overall biodiversity and causing some desert plants to go extinct. As talked about before, desert plants are a huge asset to human species for many reasons. So it's in everyone's best interest to limit the destruction of this ecosystem and protect these kind of plants.
Next, we'll be doing our conclusion and reflection. A few key points that I want to summarize from Rachel for that diversity of desert plants is that plants do store water in their fleshy tissue. Ephemerals and annuals have shorter life cycles than most plants. Structural adaptations by Taylor. A few key points from that is photosynthesis is done in the stem and aids in water storage, and the stomata open at night to reduce evaporation. For the physiological adaptations, plants do engage in cam photosynthesis, meaning that they do only open their stomata at night. And they also have seed dormancy only after rainfall happens. Robert Fraser, he goes over the ecological and human significance and how the protection of plants help the like herbal medicine